Hey, you guys, welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. So, if you're in the United States of America, happy Thanksgiving. If you're not in the United States of America, happy day. I hope it's happy for you, even though it's not a holiday for you. So, I thought maybe we could just hang out and make Thanksgiving dinner together. I had originally planned on smoking a turkey today, but the weather was not going to cooperate with me. And so I kind of pivoted last minute and went and bought a spiral ham. And so honestly, I'm kind of excited that it's as easy as popping it in the oven, throwing a glaze on it in a little while, and just not really having to think about it. And then we have a couple of side dishes we're going to make. And I don't have to make cranberry sauce this year because I did that work for myself last year. I canned up a bunch of cranberry sauce when the cranberries were so cheap around the holidays last year. So that I just get to pop the lid off and voila, we've got cranberry sauce. So I'm going to get this ham into the oven and then we're going to go outside in the cold. It's in the 40s, which I know is probably not all that cold for some of you, but it's pretty cold for me. And harvest some chives for some loaded mashed potatoes. So into the oven this guy goes. This needs to bake for about an hour and a half. Okay, so now we can head out into what for me is very frigid air and get ourselves some chives. I come out here to the garden and it's very clear that the frost has happened, although there's still a lot of things that are alive because it wasn't a really hard frost. So parts of plants are damaged, but not everything. Let me give you guys a peek since we're out here. You can see my zinnias definitely took a really hard hit. But even my tomato plants aren't completely dead yet. It's so crazy that it's November 28th and there's still this much green. I still would have expected green here though. My chives hang on through pretty, oh my goodness, you guys, I just saw some tomatoes I missed. I'm gonna grab those while I'm here too. But the chives, they survive through a lot of cold. I like a lot of chives in our mashed potatoes. So this is a pretty decent handful. These two tomatoes were on a plant that hadn't succumbed to frost yet, so we might as well harvest them. And y'all, because I can't help myself, look at this pepper that I somehow missed. Goodness gracious. I'm back inside from our harvesting expedition. I got a really nice handful of chives here. I will tell you, if you are not a gardener, grow a pot with some chives. They are just one of the best things you can grow for yourself. I go out in my garden all the time and pick what would cost me $2 to $4 at the grocery store, and they basically take care of themselves. So I also got this hilarious little pile of green beans off of my green stock. The green stock definitely has some frost damage, but the plants were not dead yet. That will change tonight. I think we're supposed to get down to somewhere in the 20s tonight. So everything that's only been touched by frost will officially just bite the dust today. But I got my potatoes washed up for my loaded mashed potatoes while I was cleaning up my chives and green beans. And I'm just going to get to chopping these. I know it's very much a personal preference thing, but we don't mind the skin on our potatoes, and there's a lot of nutrients in them. So I just leave the skins on, even for mashed potatoes. I have a pot here with water in it, so I can just put my chunks right in there. So you guys will have to tell me, are you leftover people? We love leftovers in general, but holiday food, I definitely want leftovers. I like to spend a couple of days not cooking and eating on the leftovers once the holiday is passed. So we will make plenty of potatoes so that we're able to do that. So these potatoes, we are going to add some cheese, sour cream, bacon, and the chives into these, and then I'm going to put them in a baking dish with some cheese and other toppings on top and just let them get melty and yummy in the oven. And the other thing we're going to make is a little bit of a riff on one of my family's like go-to holiday dishes. My mom found this recipe in a Taste of Home magazine. I don't know when. I can't remember holidays without this dish. So maybe even before I was born. And it was called broccoli elegant. And when you make broccoli elegant, stuffing goes around the perimeter of a 9x13 dish. And then you put broccoli in the center. You make this really fantastic cream cheese sauce that gets poured over the broccoli. Top it with shredded cheddar cheese, some smoked paprika, and you bake it in the oven. This is like the taste of my childhood holidays. And we have it most years for Christmas or Thanksgiving or just randomly because we feel like it. But this year, we're doing the mashed potatoes. So we don't really need the stuffing. And so I found this broccoli at Sam's Club that they said it was baby broccoli. It looks very much like broccolini to me. It has long, tender stems on it. And I thought we could just steam some of that broccoli, make the cream cheese sauce, put the cheddar on top, throw it under the broiler long enough for the cheese to melt, and just have the vegetable cheese sauce element of the broccoli elegant. So that's what we're going to do. And then I think since I have this funny little handful of green beans, we'll probably just saute those up and have them as well. These are ready to boil. My ham still has long enough that I'm not going to turn those on yet. But while I'm waiting for it to be time, I'm going to snap my green beans. I'm going to chop my chives. And I'm going to make my cream cheese sauce. So we have plenty to do. These green beans are hilarious. I've got all my veggies prepped, my cheese grated, my bacon chopped up, and so I'm ready to start making my cream cheese sauce. The first thing I need for this is 2 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to get that melting because we are going to make a roux for this. If you happen to be new here, I use oat flour for my roux because we are gluten-free in our house. And so I am going to need about a tablespoon of oat flour. And we'll just get our butter melting. Also, if you're new, I have an induction cooktop, and so this goes pretty quickly here, this melting butter. So I'm going to add in my flour and just let this cook for a minute or two to cook off some of that flour flavor. While my flour and butter are cooking for a few minutes, I am going to measure out my liquid ingredients. So currently I have a 1/2 cup of water in this measuring cup, and I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of cream. This recipe calls for milk and chicken bouillon, but I think a lot of you know I don't handle milk very well. I seem to do okay with cream, and so this is my way of dealing with that, is using the heavy cream. Now, it calls for chicken bouillon. I'm using water. So I'm going to put my freeze-dried chicken broth to the test. It smells good. And I shouldn't need very much of this, but I am going to add about a teaspoon. That might even be more than I need. Because if you guys were with me when I did this, this cup and a half of chicken broth was actually a gallon of chicken broth before I freeze dried it. So it shouldn't take very much at all to give us a nice chicken flavor. So I'm just going to stir that into my milk and water mixture, or cream, I guess, in this case. And then I'm going to check on our butter and flour. This is looking ready for us. I'm going to slowly stir this in here. I don't find that oat flour clumps like wheat flour does, so that's nice. You don't have to be quite as careful. But we're going to let this thicken up, and once it thickens up, we will start adding in our cream cheese. We need 2 ounces of cream cheese. While our sauce is cooking, I have my tender broccoli here washed up and ready to steam. So I've got some water in the bottom of the steamer pot, and I'm just going to turn this on. My goal here is to steam it for about 3 minutes. Most of the instructions I found for steaming the tender broccoli said to steam it for like 4 to 5 minutes, but I am planning on putting this cream cheese sauce on top, sprinkling it with cheddar cheese, and throwing it under the broiler. And so I would like it to be a little underdone so that it doesn't get too mushy when we put it under the broiler. I am also going to go ahead and get our potatoes going here. Add some salt to our water. Once they come to a boil, they need to cook for somewhere around 10 minutes, but we're just looking for them to be fork tender. I am going to go ahead and add some cracked pepper to my sauce here. When I was a kid, this recipe called for white pepper, and my mom always had some on hand. That was the only thing we ever used the white pepper in, and so I don't mind flecks of black pepper in the sauce. We don't have to keep it on hand for 1 meal a year. That is steaming, so I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes on the broccoli. Our cream and water mixture is starting to thicken up. Now this will stay relatively thin because the cream cheese will do a good bit of the thickening here. Our sauce here is thick enough that I'm going to go ahead and start adding our cream cheese in. You don't want to do this all at once, so I'm going to start with half of it and get it melted in, and then we'll add the other half. We'll probably want to add some salt to this as well, but I wanted to wait until we had the cream cheese in just so we would know what level we need. That timer is for my broccoli, so I'm going to get it off the heat. Going to add the rest of our cream cheese now. And get it melted in. Now that our cream cheese is melted, I am going to give this a taste and see if it needs some more salt. It does, just a little bit. So we'll get that dissolved into our sauce. I think I also would like to add a little bit more pepper. It's perfect. So there's one more thing we need to add to this, which I haven't mentioned, and that is chopped green onion. We'll just stir that right in. And this is ready to pour over the top of our broccoli. My plan with the broccoli is just to lay it out here all pretty, alternating the sides of the heads. It's steamed up beautifully. The color is just so nice and vibrant. I do think I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of salt onto the broccoli because it hasn't been seasoned at all. I know the cheese sauce is well seasoned, but sometimes the veggie itself needs just a little something. We'll give this just a little sprinkle. And then pour our sauce over the top. Smells so good. This is one of those times I wish I had smell-o-vision that I could share the way this sauce smells with you guys because it's just yummy. And now we just need some cheddar cheese sprinkled on here. Just a little bit of smoked paprika. Well, now this dish is ready to go under the broiler right before we eat. While our potatoes are boiling, our ham is almost ready to add a glaze to. And so I went looking and I found some options, and I'm just kind of playing a little bit. But I made a carrot cake for our dessert for Thanksgiving, and it had pineapple in it. And so I have all of this reserved pineapple juice, and I thought that would be great in a glaze. So we're going to do a coconut sugar mustard pineapple juice glaze on our ham. And that was definitely a little bit more sugar than I intended on in that scoop. So we'll cut this one back a little bit. I did about half a cup of coconut sugar and about 1/8 cup of pineapple juice because we don't want this too runny. And I'm going to do a couple of teaspoons of mustard and then turn this on low. We're just looking to melt our coconut sugar into the pineapple juice and get everything all mixed up nicely into a thick glaze we can pour over our ham. Smells good. It did not use much of my pineapple juice though. Let's give our potatoes a fork test. They are almost there. I do want to taste this glaze. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, it's so sweet. Obviously, it won't be this concentrated on the ham, so I have to keep that in mind. Our glaze is almost melted, and those potatoes are tender. So I am gonna get these drained. We're gonna let those steam for a few minutes and get a little bit of that extra moisture off. And our glaze looks ready. So I'm gonna get our ham out of the oven, pour this over the top. Oh, this ham smells so good. Our glaze is nice and thick and runny at the same time. I don't know how you can be thick and runny, but it definitely is. So we're just gonna pour this over the top here. Make sure we get it all down the sides. And the ham's ready to pop back in the oven. I did turn the temperature up to 400. That was what I read online, was to cook it for an extra 20 minutes. So we'll see how this goes. I don't think I've ever actually glazed a ham before. I am going to make room in there so that we can add our mashed potatoes. Potatoes have stopped steaming, so I am going to add some butter and get to mashing on these potatoes. We like our potatoes a little bit chunky, but I feel like everybody's got their own way like they like potatoes, right? Some people want them peeled, some people want them super smooth. It's just a matter of preference. I am going to go ahead and add in my sour cream as well while I'm mashing so it gets nice and incorporated. Just like with the lactose-free cream cheese, I also have lactose-free sour cream. And let's go ahead and add some salt, some pepper, and some garlic powder. Now that our mashed potatoes are all nice and mashed with the cream and butter, we're going to add some cheddar cheese and bacon. We're going to add most of our chives, and we're just going to get this all nice and mixed up. I actually like to leave it where the cheddar is not completely melted, so when you bite into it, there's little bits of cheddar, but you just do it however you want. If you want it completely incorporated, just keep stirring till that cheese is all good and melted. But I have to tell you, these mashed potatoes just turned out so fantastic, and I'm thrilled with the leftovers that we have because we will be eating these for several days. Now that our mashed potatoes are all mixed up, I'm just spraying my baking dish down with some oil to help with sticking. And then we're going to scrape all of our mashed potatoes out of our pot into our pan. I just get these all loaded into the pan and spread out. Ignore my mouth here if it's moving. I had some technical difficulty and my microphone wasn't on, so I'm doing this as a voiceover. But once we get all of these potatoes loaded in, we're going to top it with some more cheese. It's Thanksgiving. We get to eat all the cheese, right? And then the bacon that we reserved from what we put into the potatoes. And we just make them all delicious and yummy. Once this is all done, we pop it into the oven. Really, they're already hot, so they just have to go in until the top gets nice and melty and some little crispy bits of potato on there. Our loaded mashed potatoes just came out of the oven. So I'm gonna sprinkle them with some chives, a nice pop of green on the top. Now we're just waiting for our broccolini. Did want to give you guys a close-up of how nice this glaze turned out on the ham. It's so pretty and shiny. And I maybe took a little nibble right there, and it's delicious. So here's our last dish to get on the table, our broccoli with cream cheese sauce and cheddar cheese. It looks like it turned out fantastic to me. So here we have it, guys. Thanksgiving dinner 2024. I'm very much looking forward to digging into this. We have our beautiful broccoli, our loaded mashed potatoes, our ham, our cranberry sauce. We have carrot cake for later. If you want to know about the carrot cake, check back next week. But I'm very much looking forward to sitting down and enjoying this meal. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I want you to know that on this Thanksgiving, I'm really thankful for all of you who tune in and watch and comment. You know, it's nice to know that there's people on the other end of these videos. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you are spending it with people you love, and I'll see you next time. Bye.